Hi, my name is Harrison Johnson, and today I'm going to be going over my lifetime fitness presentation. Over the course of this presentation, I'll be discussing my personal health assignment, my habit challenge, and my personal exercise plan. So, for my trial one of my personal health related assignment, I had to test my muscle strength, endurance, um, find out my body composition, and test my cardiovascular endurance and my flexibility. So initially for my push-ups, I got 42. My sit-ups, I got 73. Body composition was 27.4. And for my cardiovascular endurance test and my flexibility test, I was unable to complete those because of the herniated disc in my lower back, which is pinching a nerve that goes down my left leg. Um, for trial two of this assessment, my push-ups increased from 42 to 65. My sit-ups increased from 73 to 80. My body composition stayed the same, and I am still unable to complete the cardiovascular endurance and flexibility tests. So reasons as to why I saw my change, reasons as to why I think I saw the changes that I did. So initially at the start of when I did my trial one, I was just returning to the gym post physical therapy from my injury. So I was 2 months out of training. So that's why my push-ups were only 42. But after training for all semester, they increased to 65, which I think is like a fair increase. My muscle endurance sit-ups were surprisingly pretty strong, still 73, and they only increased to 80. I think this is because I've only been doing my PT exercises for core, which isn't really training my endurance, just the kind of stability exercises and stuff. My body composition, I think it stayed the same because of my diet. After not training, not being able to train for 2 months, I lost a lot of muscle, but also put on a lot of fat. So I was 200 pounds, 6'3" there. Now I am currently a lot leaner, more muscular, 200 pounds at 6'3". So I think that's why they stay the same. And I'm still unable to train my do the cardiovascular endurance test and the flexibility test. So basically just like time in the gym, my recovery from injury, and my diet. And things I can do moving forward to improve my goals are just continue with my rehab from my injury so I can do the cardiovascular endurance test and the flexibility test, and just keep improving my diet. Just stay on top of it, make sure I'm eating clean, healthy, hitting my macros and micros. So my habit challenge was to get 8 hours of sleep. So my key was my bedtime. So whenever I had to wake up that next morning, I would be in bed, lights out, phone away, 8.5 hours ahead of time. I gave myself a 30-minute window to fall asleep, so that would guarantee 8 hours of sleep. My reward was intrinsic. I just felt good. I felt a lot better, more awake, and healthy, which kind of touches on the benefits. I had more energy. My mood was increased in a positive manner, and I just think 8 hours of sleep is that healthy sweet spot. You're not sleeping too less. You're not sleeping too much. And the only challenge I really had was my discipline, just to make sure I was in bed 8.5 hours ahead of when I had to wake up every night. Living in a fraternity house, having 22 roommates, that was a pretty big challenge. Just hearing them having fun out there, but just knowing how to get my rest and being disciplined, that was pretty difficult. So my personal exercise warm up. I will start my warm up now. I will go on to discuss my exercise plan, and then I'll come back to my cool down. So for my warm up upper body, I would do 2 sets of an overhead banded or PVC pipe stretch. Just basically like this. I would go into 2 light dumbbell rotator cuff warm ups. 2 sets of 15 reps like this. 2 sets of 15 reps like that. And then I do bird dogs. I think bird dogs, I just do a set or two of these just to prime my posterior chain. I think it's very important just to like get your whole body warmed up and intact before you do any kind of lift. And then I do some banded rows just because before my pull day, I like to get some blood on my back to create a wider base, a more firm base for when I'm benching. And then for my pull days, you just want to warm up your back before you train back. For the warm up on my lower body, I would start with a 10-minute bike ride just to get some blood to my legs. Then I'll go into a goblet squat stretch, which is basically I would have a 25-pound plate here. I would go into goblet squat like this. for 30 seconds, elbows in between my knees, plate out in front of me, and I would just hold there for that time just to open up my hips, just so when I do squat, I can get into the hole easier. I would do 2 sets of those. I would go on to do 2 sets of bird dogs to warm up my posterior chain. And then I would do a set or 2 of bird dogs just to warm up my core. These aren't taxing exercises, they'll be light. I just want to get some blood to my core to prime it and get it ready to squat. So my personal exercise plan consists of 6 days on and 1 active rest. I'll start on Sunday, which is the active rest. I would just go for probably a walk, or if I wanted to go to the gym, I would just do some treadmill work, maybe a bike or some time on the bike. So Monday will be legs, Tuesday push and core, Wednesday pull and cardio for 20 minutes, then repeat that again for the next 3 days, legs, push and core, pull and cardio. So I'm gonna break down what a normal day would look like for each muscle group, and then I'm gonna touch on the FIT VP principles. So for push, I want to start with my barbell bench, which is a compound movement. I want to be fresh for that, and then I'm going to go on to my overhead press. I prefer dumbbells over a barbell, and that as my second compound movement. So I also want to stay remotely fresh for that as well. Then I'm going to go on to my incline dumbbell to work on my upper chest, and then cable flies just to get as much blood to my chest as possible. And that will conclude my chest workout. After that, I'm going to go on to my double lateral raises to train my lateral head. My front dead was touched a lot on shoulder press and, incline and bench. So I don't really need a specific front delt exercise for that. So I'm going to go on to my double lateral raises next. And then I'm going to go to my rear delt cable rows, excuse me. And that's just going to work on my rear delts. And then I like to finish off with, excuse me, I got those confused. I'm going to go on to my rear delt flies to work on my rear delt. And then I'm going to finish with an upright cable row just to burn out the whole entire shoulders and get as much blood flow to it as possible. Next, I'm going to go on to my overhead dumbbell tricep extension just to work on my triceps. And then I'm going to finish off with a rope push down just to burn out anything left, any juice that's left. So for my pull days, I like to start with a dumbbell row. And I can't deadlift, so my dumbbell row is kind of like my compound movement. It's just the heaviest lift I can do. So I want to stay fresh for that, and I really want to work on just like growing my back, and rows are the best way to do that. And then after, I'm going to go and just the wide grip lat pull downs. That's gonna allow me to grow the width in my back. I'm going to go to some seated plated rows to work on the girth in my back, the thickness, dumbbell shrugs, work on my thickness and my traps, thickness in my back and my traps, cable pullovers to work on that width again. And then that will conclude my back workout, and I'll go into my buys after that. I'll start with seated incline dumbbell curls. So I'm back on an incline bench like this, curling up and out almost like that. You can really just grind those out and get a lot of reps in. They hurt, so they're good. And then next, I'm going to go into some cable rope curls just to burn anything out that's left of my biceps. So for legs, I start with front squats. I can't back squat because of my back, so front squats are what I'm doing. And that's a compound lift. It's mainly quad focused, but that's a pretty heavy lift and taxing lift right there. So we can start with that. Then I go into hip thrust, which is my second compound movement, which works your glutes, hamstrings, calves, and lower back. So that's pretty important right there, especially for me, given my circumstance. And then next, I'm going to go into split squats. Split squats are very important. They're very good. Just develop your overall leg. I mean, they're probably my least favorite leg exercise ever, but they're very important, so I make sure to do them. Next, I'll go into some barbell RDLs to work on my hamstrings, and then quad extensions to burn out anything left in my quads. Next, I'll do calf raises. I'll do a standing and seated calf raise. Always standing calf raises works like your overall, like the thickness of your calf, and the seated calf raise works like the ball part that kind of pops out. So now to touch on the FIT VP principles. My frequency, I'm training everything twice a week. I'm going to make sure to get the proper amount of sleep and make sure my nutrition is on point. And I truly believe that you can train everything twice a week as long as you're on top of your nutrition and sleep. And I feel like your body will respond best to that, especially in my case, because I've been training. Now the intensity, I train pretty hard for my compound movements. I'll keep it on the heavier side, like 8 reps. I'm not going to go any lower than that because I'm not strength training. I'm not playing any sports anymore, so I don't really see a reason to still train for performance. And then after that, after my barbell bench, overhead press, my rows, front squats, and hip thrusts, everything else is going to be tailored to like a bodybuilding style kind of workout where there's 10 to 15 reps, really just trying to get as much blood to the muscle as possible for them to grow. The time, I always have this bad boy on me, and for my compound movements, I do 2 to 3 minute rests, and for my accessories, I'll do a minute to a minute and a half rest. Type, I already discussed that kind of compound movements at the start, and then bodybuilding really is what I would say is how I train. Volume, there's a lot of volume here. I'm just trying to, really burn the muscles out completely, get as much blood to it as possible, to have it respond the best way and get them as much growth as possible. And then my progression, over time, I'm still trying to increase the numbers on my compound movements. Those are as important. But my goals are really just to gain some size and stay healthy. I don't want to get injured again. So yeah, really trying to pack on some good quality muscle, and those are my goals. So my cool down, that's right. So cool down for upper body, I'm gonna do some overhead stretch again, which is the Bandador PVC pullovers like this, just to kind of loosen everything out. And I'm gonna go home and use my massage gun on the muscles that I trained, just to break down the muscle and break up any lactic acid that's there. Excuse me. And then cool down for my lower body. I'm gonna do some static stretching just to make the stretch out the muscle, foam rolling to break down the muscle, and then just to loosen up the muscle. I should say, not break down. And then go home and just use my massage gun just to touch everything up. So my works cited is me. I've been training for 4.5 years now, and I feel like I have a very good understanding with how my body responds to certain styles of training. So, and this is basically everything that this presentation covered was, depicted towards my own kind of like personal experience, really, and it's tailored towards my goals. So, and I have like I said, I have a pretty good understanding. So I feel like everything I've said here is valid just through the my training time and just knowing my own body. And last but not least, thank you for giving me this opportunity to make this presentation. It was fun. Thank you.